Fight!
So you see what you want to do.
The Sig pistol will get you killed in the streets. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Trench Grenade channel. It's a weekend Mustang rant. As you guys know, it's been a pretty busy weekend with the live stream and just going to, doing routine errands in the gym. So another Mustang rant was in order to answer your guys' question about the Sig P320 M17 M18. Okay, we just got done at the range and we're on the way to breakfast and the gym, and I figured I'd just give you some backstory. Now, go ahead and hit the like button if you enjoy the channel. Comment down below what your experiences have been with the M17, M18, or Sig P320 series. I know it's a pretty wide series. It's their duty handgun line, which I don't recommend it for duty, okay, if the too long didn't read. But I don't recommend it for duty, but that is what we're going to be discussing. We're not discussing the 365 or any of their other handguns, the 226, which is cool, but it's outdated. That's a whole nother video for a whole nother time. Yes, the double action, single action is cool, but it's a little bit outdated and a little bit clunky, right, to get pretty fast splits with that handgun. Okay, like the video, comment down below what your experiences have been with the Sig M17, M18, P320. All right, let's tell you guys a history lesson. Before I tell you the history lesson, you already know the deal. Join the Patreon. I need more of you guys on the Patreon to convince me to continue making content, because it's awkward to talk to the camera in my Mustang on the weekend. So if you want to continue seeing content and shooting footage and all the stuff that we do on the channel, right, tactics videos, become a member of the Patreon and you get access to the Discord server. Okay. So, think back, was going to pop a bottle, watch your body waddle. Uh-oh, I just got a Celsius. That was bad. All right, so Night Dog is here. She's reading. She's out of frame. Okay, so think back to 2017. It's either 2016 or 2017 when we first fielded the M17. I was in Fort Riley, Kansas as a Bradley Commander. Now, as a Bradley Commander, you get issued an M17. So when I had PCS from a private security detail working for the boss, and I'm working for the brigade commander, and I did an interpost transfer, and I PCS over to 118 infantry, where I would be a Bradley commander. Now, at that time, we were fielding the M17. So it was my job. I was the NCOIC for my company, okay? All the M17s of my company, we had to take them out to the range for 2 to 3 days, and we shot them. We did the qual. If you're not familiar with the qual in the Army, it's 5 to 30, I believe. It's either 5 to 30 or 5 to 45. Targets that pop up, you shoot it, pop, it goes down. Just different green Ivan targets.
Ist thou ready? Fight!
So it'd be like 1 at 5, 1 at 10, 1 at 15, so on and so forth, all the way out. I believe it's either 5 to 30 or 5 to 45. Someone will look it up. But we did that qual several times with all the handguns, because that was the best thing we could do short notice, was just, hey, reserve the M17, or was the M9 qual range. So reserve the M9 qual range and go out there and test the handguns. So we had, 30, 40, probably an insane amount of ammo. I don't know. I wasn't the ammo NCO, but they just brought a ton of 9mm out there, and we shot those handguns. And we didn't mind them initially, and then we found out that they were not drop safe. So initially, if you drop the handgun, for whatever reason, the inertia of it being dropped, it would just go off. Awkward merge into traffic. So that's what you get with the Mustang rant, right? So the first batch of the guns in like 26, I think I'm gonna favor to 2017, because I don't know for sure, and I know some ninja is gonna look up the serial numbers of all the guns issued to 2nd Brigade 118 Infantry and be like, oh, technically it was 2017. Okay, cool. So 2017, all the handguns we got, probably 100, 150 for a company, right? Somewhere around there. All the ones that we got they were shooting fine, except in the first couple hundred rounds, the guns didn't want to go, the slide didn't want to go all the way forward. So Ben Steger actually posted a video with a very similar issue with a more recent from this year, P320 from this year. The slides, when you know, other than racking it fully, if you just kind of are dry firing it, the slides didn't want to go fully into battery on their own. So that was the only thing I noticed, other than the actual drop safe issue. And they all had to get sent back to Sig, I guess. You know, we don't deal with that part. The arms room and the XO deals with that part, but they sent them all back, and then we got all new ones, and then no issues after that. Skip forward about 2 years or so, I think it was about 2 years, 2020-ish, a bunch of people started having these guns going off in the holster. Now, that is where the true hatred of the handguns, combining that with the question in the back of your brain, if I drop this thing, is it going to go off? And the weird break-in period where you have to shoot a couple hundred rounds to get it to work 100%, molded with the fact that these guns are now going off on their own in holsters. I don't know exactly, you know, the reason why. So dudes just don't trust them. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of guys carrying them that are not gun guys per se. They're just carrying them because it's the issued gun, and they don't really do anything outside of work as far as research or training or whatever. So, yeah, so I do not recommend them. I have owned a Sig P320 to test before, and then when I started seeing the guns blowing up, okay, a lot of guys have issues with them blowing up with factory ammo. So what happens in the Army is there's an investigation, and whenever there's a gun that blows up or whatever, this is fast forwarding now, whenever there's a gun that blows up, they have to cease fire, they have to call out range ops and do an investigation, and you know, it's a pretty annoying process, right? We never had that with the M9s. The M9s, the issue that we had was that the locking block would break, okay? That was the issue we had with the M9. The locking block would break, and then we would just replace it, and it would be a simple fix. So, I guess, to give you guys my overall thoughts on the handgun. They blow up randomly, so that's not good, right? So the gun blowing up, that's a problem. It not wanting to go into battery fully on its own, that's a problem. Major problem. Not being drop safe initially, I mean, there's not much you want to say about that, right? I mean, it's a duty gun. We're using the M17 at work, and if you're worried about dropping the gun or the gun going off in the holster, that's a no-go right off the bat, right? So, and then the other one, I forgot the last one, right? But there's four major reasons, right? I forgot the ones I listed. They blow up on their own, they go off in the holster, they're not drop safe, and the break-in period. You know, with a Glock 19 or a Beretta M9A1, tasty. There's no break-in period, right? Glock 19, I've used the Glock 17 Gen 2 at work. You know, super old gun, you know, kind of clunky, but no break-in period. The gun just works. You trust it. You could fall out of a freaking aircraft, which is what we do, jump out of aircraft with it, and not worried about it going off, right? Now, obviously, you're not exiting an aircraft with a round in the chamber. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but with your M17 or your M4A1, you're not exiting the aircraft with a round in the chamber, because obviously now you're just asking, because the M4A1 is not drop safe, and now we're going down a rabbit hole. Anyway, if you're asking me, Trench, I want a gun for carry, I want a gun for duty, dude, avoid the M17, the M18, the P320 like the plague. I wish it wasn't like that, because they look cool. You know, they're not horrible. The triggers are mushy. If you guys haven't fired one, go dry fire one in the store somewhere, right, with their permission. But go dry fire a buddy's. The triggers that come in the gun are a little bit mushy compared to a Glock, where a Glock is a lot of creep, a wall, and then like the Gen 5 triggers are actually really good. So I would not recommend the M17 to any of you guys, or I guess I should say the P320 to any of you guys watching this, because of all the reasons listed. And you have to have trust in your handgun. And if you're thinking about, okay, all the things we discussed today, oh, is this thing going to go off on its own? Is it going to blow up when I start shooting it? Is it going to have malfunctions? You know, all the things that we're talking about right now, that shouldn't even be a part of the conversation. The conversation should be, the conversation should be, how good can I get with this handgun? Is it, you know, it should already be 99% reliable, right? Like a Glock 19, I know I use that all the time on the channel. Let's use the Beretta. The Beretta M9, we never had any malfunctions with the Beretta M9. When I say any, obviously user error is a problem, or if the guns get super muddy, right? If you're doing like IMTs, individual movement techniques, during a live fire, and you're laying in the mud, okay, yeah, you're gonna have malfunctions, right, with any handgun. But other than things that were outside of your control, if the gun was clean and you were doing everything right, the odds of having a malfunction on the M9 were like negligible. You would never see, like when I look back to my whole career, you're dropping mags in the dirt for qual and stuff like that. Guys are reloading the mags. So if you're the second or third person to use a magazine, yeah, you might have a malfunction due to sand. But with the M9A4 that they wanted to, adopt, that wouldn't have been an issue, right? One thing on the M9, and if you guys want a follow-up video on my thoughts on the M9, I guess just post down below. If you want a standalone video on my experience with the M9 handgun during my service, right? I guess it would have been for the first 6 years. Post down below. Now keep in mind, during those years...
Stand by. Wow. I'm going to clear. It's clear, hammer down and holster.
I only used an M9 a couple times, right? When I was a freaking 240 AG, and I think when I was an RTO. But other than that, I rarely used the M9 in the early portion of my career because I was a rifleman or a team leader, right? And my primary weapon would be my M4A1 with my ACOG, and that's all I really used when I was a little Joey growing up in the Army. Okay, I've talked a lot. You guys haven't talked at all, but you can talk down below in the comments. Let me know what your experiences are with the M17, M18, P320 line. I look forward to reading those comments. Be honest, and if you're a Sig lover, right, or as Ben Steger has tagged it, a Sigger. If you're a Sigger and you love the Sigs, that's fine. But be reasonable in your comment. Don't just be like, oh my god, it's the best handgun ever and it's tan. Like, okay, we get it. They're tan. They look cool, dude. But be reasonable with your comments, because that is what makes being a content creator, even though, however small this channel is, not the biggest channel, but sometimes size doesn't matter. But even though it's a small channel, reading your guys' engagement down below and like reading your thoughts on the discussion is my favorite part, especially the people that immediately expose themselves to having no training at all, and they're just like, Trench doesn't like it because he's a pogue, and I'm like, I'm literally an infantryman. But now I'm going down another rabbit hole. Okay, so in summary, M17, M18, P320, it's all the same gun. Some of them have a manual safety, some of them don't. The M17 obviously does. If you have different thoughts, post down below. Let me know your thoughts on the M17. I overall do not recommend it. The guns blow up, allegedly. They go off in the holster, allegedly. They don't want to go into battery. They have a weird teething break-in period. When I shot, I guess I'll fast forward. I should include this. This is a pretty big deal. I don't know why I forgot to mention that. So I shot a bunch of competitions in the Army for I-Corps competition, U.S. Army Small Arms Championship. So it's like every year you go to Fort Moore, now, Fort Benning then. Fort Benning, Georgia, you shoot thousands and thousands of rounds and train up, right? So I put you know, probably over 100,000 rounds easily through an M17, right? And I did fairly well with, you know, with that. I believe we won I-Corps twice. I received an MSM with my team, right? Shout out to that team because they were the freaking all-stars, man. But I've had a lot of experience with the M17, and I liked it because it didn't have the double action, single action. So that part was cool. As a competitor, going from double action to single action is annoying and it's going to hinder you more. So what we would do, I'm not going to name drop anybody, but if they ever watch this video, they know who I'm talking about. What we would do is we wouldn't just take the one that was assigned to us. We went through the arms room, and you know, you think about 100 handguns or whatever per company, somewhere around there, 60 to 100. It's based on your MTO. So we went to the arms room, we just dry fire, you know, feeling the trigger on them, kind of getting a feel, figuring out which of the M17s seemed good from the factory, right? Because all of them have slightly different triggers. All of them are a little bit different. So we found the ones that would go into battery on their own, right? And we found the ones that had a little bit better trigger, and then we went out and tested them. Now, everything we did on that team, we had a primary and an alternate. So we would have an M4A1, right, with a ACOG, and then our backup gun would have a CCO, an aim point on it, right? So we would shoot with both guns. We'd always have a backup gun in case our primary gun went down. I should note that we never had, nope, that's not true. We had one issue with one guy's M17 where I don't remember exactly, something to do with the trigger. Something broke in the gun, so they swapped it out right there, and he was good to go, right? That's the good thing about the modularity of the Sig pistol, is they, you know, because they're so modular, things aren't serialized like other guns. You can just throw the thing in the trash, not in the trash, but throw it in the DX bin and get a new slide if you have a broken slide or whatever, right? So that is one pro of the Sig. Now, I will say, compared to the M9, for competition purposes, you don't want to have to go from double action to single action to double action, you know, every drill, right? It's something you have to train around. So shooting competitively with the Sig M17, and I shot privately, what we would do is all of us had a P320, right? My buddy had the Legion, like the P320 Legion. He was kind of the coach of the team, if you will. So he would shoot the Legion. I shot my P320 Compact, which is just the 15+1, like the Glock 19 equivalent. That way we have the same experience off work as on work with the guns. And during that time, we didn't have very many issues with the M17, but we would joke about it pretty much relentlessly, like, could have had a Glock 19, could have had a Beretta M9A4, right? G model only. Now, I know I just talked all that bad stuff about the double action and single action, but the M9A4's trigger, the single action trigger, is amazing, right? And you're not gonna have any malfunctions, and the gun is definitely not gonna go off in the holster. So for competition purposes, the guns were fine because we were in the Army, and we weren't worried about you know, getting killed in the streets because this thing blows up. If this thing were to blow up, we would just get a brand new one, you know, a new grip module, and they would just replace it right there at the truck, and it would be fine. But for your uses, all the things I've talked about today, with, you know, the guns blowing up in holsters, they're going off in holsters without being touched. They're not drop safe. At least the early models weren't. The break-in period with them not being 100% reliable, for you, I can't recommend it, because that's a major problem for a civilian to have to face, when all you should be worried about is competition shooting and personal defense, right? You should be shooting one handgun like a Glock 19 that can do competition and can do concealed carry, right? Like, I'll put my money where my mouth is, right, without showing everybody what I got going on here. But like my Glock 19 with the trigger guard, I either carry this in a fanny pack or at the 4 o'clock position or appendix every day of my entire life, right? And I shoot competition with this pistol as well, because it's the same thing. And all I've had to do is put Trijicon night sights and Talon grips, and that's it, right? I mean, the gun's gonna always work. It's never gonna be a problem. And I can shoot competition, not worry about all the issues we talked about here today. All right, I've talked a lot. They haven't talked at all. So for competition for the Army, fine, but you're still worried about it going off in the holster, and it's still kind of like the joke is like, okay, it's not the best, it's not the greatest option even for military competition use. But if you're a civilian watching this and you're like, should I get an M17 or a 320, don't do it. Get a Glock or something better. The two things I recommend the most to people, or I guess the three guns I recommend the most for your uses, are either going to be a Glock 19 Gen 5 with preferably a 507 comp on top of it, okay? A M&P 2.0, Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0, the compact, the 15+1, same deal. Try to put a 507 comp or metal night sights on it with some Talon grips, or a Staccato 2011 C2, but then you're getting back into the drop safe issue again. And as you guys know, if you're using it for duty and you drop that thing, it's going off, right? So those are my recommendations as of right now. Definitely steer clear of the Sig product. Hopefully they don't watch this video and try to sue me. That would be a fun time. Okay, enjoy your weekend, guys, or enjoy your week. Get out to the range and shoot. You know, we only shot a couple hundred rounds today with our Glock 19s prior to this, just to stay proficient, and you know, no big deal, right? Just a pre-breakfast, pre-gym range session. But make sure you guys are actually dry firing, shooting your guns. I look forward to reading your comments down below. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being supporters of the channel. And until next time, this is going to be Trench Grenade and Nighthawk on her Kindle. The Sig haters that your mom said that we have at home, signing out. Cheers.
And I'll call myself out. I used to talk crap about cops and mill dudes without ever thinking about it years ago. And then